Hello and welcome back to Turning the Key at S&G. I'm Nichola, one of S&G's customers, and today I'm stepping in as your guest host while Phoebe hands me the mic. She's done such a great job. I was thought, let's give her a little break and I'll take the reins. It's a real privilege to be here, helping to bring customer and colleagues together in the same room to have open, honest conversations about the things that shape our homes, our communities, and our future. If you joined us last time, you'll remember we took a deep dive into customer voice, how residents influence decisions at S&G, what meaningful involvement looks like, and why listening to lived experience helps guide the organization forward. And today, we're building on that theme by exploring something that affects every home, sustainability. We're talking about greener homes, healthier spaces, and the huge amount of work that goes into making properties fit for the future, from retrofit and regeneration to funding challenges, to what sustainability actually looks and feels like for the people living in these homes. This episode links strategy with real life experience. Today, I'll be joined by Jim Dyer, S&G's Built Environment Director, and Kathryn Hulkes, our Head of Retrofit Delivery, to talk through some of S&G's sustainability's vision and how we assess and prioritize homes and how we are improving experiences for customers. So whether you're listening as a customer, a colleague, or someone curious about how we create warmer, greener, more future-proof homes, you're in the right place. Let's turn the key and get started. Jim, Kathryn, thank you so much for joining us. For anyone who doesn't know you, could you introduce yourself and tell us about your role at S&G?
Yeah, hi, good morning. Jim Dyer. I'm Director for the Built Environment in S&G. I work in the investment and development side of the business.
Fantastic. Kathryn?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. I'm Kathryn. I'm Head of Retrofit Delivery. So my role is to take our retrofit strategy and turn it into something that really means something in real life, so in our customers' homes.
Thanks. Lovely to have you guys on. Let's start big. When we talk about S&G's sustainability vision, what does that mean for the organization and customers?
So sustainability for me is about, we need to turn the conversation round into a language that our customers understand. Sustainability actually means is clean air, healthy homes, nature, biodiversity, well-being, affordability. So when you turn the language round, it can start to resonate with customers. And I think that's the opportunity to, if we're going to be successful, we need to bring our customers with us, talking a language that really means something to them. And Homes in Place, therefore, for S&G is that tool that we use to engage with our customers and bring it down to a customer level.
So let's talk about Homes in Place standards. For anyone who doesn't know, can you explain a little bit about what it is and how S&G's journey towards net zero supports that?
Our Homes in Place standard was really conceived about 7 years ago, pre-COVID, and we went to our customers to ask them, what is it that you want and value in your homes and your places? So that was a very healthy conversation. And when COVID came along, it taught us things that we perhaps had taken for granted. And that is, the things that we valued were the things that were taken away from us.
Green spaces, being able to walk in the park.
Fresh
I think it was limited.
Air, daylight,
if you didn't have
people.
A dog, you couldn't go outside.
Exactly. And the statistics showed that those who lived in the worst housing suffered the most through COVID. So it really kind of brought to life that the quality of the home really matters. And that complemented where we started with Homes in Place. So Homes in Place is very much about delivering the real things that matter to customers. And if we kind of summarize it, it's about customer priorities of health and well-being and affordability. It's about placemaking and communities. And net zero and carbon, that comes out the back end. It's about, if we get the customer things right up front, carbon and net zero will take care of itself.
And it's so important. Your home is your sanctuary. It's where you come home after a hectic day. It's where you feel safe. And it's so important for it to be that perfect place, where it's built to a good standard. You're happy there. It looks great. It feels great. It's efficient.
Yes.
So, yeah. Can you explain a little how we use the Homes in Place standard?
Sure. We use the standard in a number of ways. It's not just a design guide. It's not just about setting targets. It's about a number of uses where we measure the quality of our existing housing stock. So we've scored and measured the quality of about 85,000 homes across the whole of our geography. And that tells us where we've got strengths and weaknesses. So it now can start to inform investment decisions and priorities into our existing housing stock. That then informs how we may consider new build, replacement, regeneration or retrofit. And it's a very kind of strategic lens that we use at that level. When we look at new build and new homes, we use the tool in a very exciting way and dynamic way where we use it to measure three things: the home, the place, and sustainable futures. And when we take those together, we start to get a real insight into holistic outcomes. And it's not a pass-fail tool. We use it to basically inform investment, and it's a judgment. So it really does inform how we spend money and where and for what outcomes. And finally, when we use it on existing homes, it's about retrofit, and Kathryn will talk about that. It's very much about those health and well-being and affordability outcomes as well as carbon outcomes. So it's a very dynamic tool, and it's very unique in the sector and industry, and we're very proud of it.
Amazing. Could you elaborate a little on the three sections and the metrics? So you said the home, the place, and the sustainability.
Sure. So when we talk about the home, we really challenge ourselves on things that matter: space standards, daylight, storage, play space for the home, the energy efficiency of the home. When we talk about place, we think about green space, nature, healthy environments, social infrastructure, community facilities. How do we encourage people to communicate and linger and connect and build a future together in place? And sustainable futures is very much looking to energy efficiency, carbon emissions. So when you pull those three things together, perhaps they're in tension with each other, but when we start to overlay them, we start to see a real opportunity for holistic outcomes that keep those customer outcomes really at the heart of our decision making.
Okay, so to clarify, the home and place standard means that you want all of your stock to be at a certain standard, and it will encompass energy efficiency, space, storage, making sure community has a good infrastructure. You know, there's things like kids can go. It reduces ASB, all of this kind of stuff. People feel connected. And also looking to the future, sustainability. I think that's a huge, huge thing that we should be looking at. And I'm so proud that the industry as a whole has this standard to work by, but also that it's constantly being improved.
I think that's right. And I would say the strength of homes in place is that when we consider the challenges of regulation and policy, and it's complex and it's difficult, and we use homes in place as a North Star, as a compass to help direct us, keep our eye on the horizon, the right outcomes over the longest time. So homes in place keeps us true to our purpose and outcomes that we seek.
Okay, guys, let's get interesting. Let's talk about retrofit. Kathryn, can you tell us what it is?
I can. I think it's really important to kind of simplify this for everyone, because there's a lot of jargon out there. There's a lot of buzzwords. So retrofit basically means adding new technology or improvements to something that already exists. So when we talk about houses, we're talking about insulation or upgrading heating systems, putting in new technology such as air source heat pumps, solar panels, battery storage, and looking at air tightness and ventilation. So it's really important that we look at the whole house rather than individual single measures. And that's certainly what we do, guided by our Homes and Place standard. And it really helps, the home stay warmer, costs to run go down, and our customers feel more comfortable all year round.
I have a follow-on question in terms of ventilation. So we talk about ventilation as, in the walls, keeping the heat in. What about the windows and, double glazing, all the stock up to date with double glazing? Is it the customer's responsibility to do what's the word I'm looking for? You get
air tightness.
Yeah.
Draft proofing,
but also the silicone-based thing you put around the windows. God, it's the names eluded me. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Mastic. There you go.
Is mastic? No, mastic isn't the one that you put on the windows. Mastic's the one you put around the bathrooms. I think it's different.
You put mastic around the windows when you install it. So you install it, and then there'll be a thin, normally white, but any particular colour. But it does. It sits around the frame.
Is that the company's organization's responsibility, or do the customers have to do that as well?
So we do that. So that's part of our specification and our standard when we install windows. We do that.
It's a great point, because when we come on, and perhaps you'll talk about this, but when we come on to retrofit, there are measures you can do quickly for the greatest kind of outcome and cheaply. So you know that's a very important first step to retrofit is protecting the airtightness of our homes.
But that being said, ventilation is a really important point. So especially, you know, and we'll take this as an example, where you are making a building more airtight, the building still has to breathe. So if we take windows, for example, there will be trickle vents in the windows, and it's really important that those remain open. So that's something that we'd encourage our customers to do. So the trickle vent sits at the head of a window, and effectively it goes from the outside to the inside of the home, and it helps air changes within the property to make sure that, you know, moisture's being taken out, vapour's being taken out, and improves the internal air quality.
In terms of ventilation, I volunteer with Age UK, and I speak to this lovely lady called Angela, and she gave me a great tip. She said you should open your windows and doors for about 5 to 10 minutes in the morning to let air in, and then close it. I first thought, wow, you're letting out a lot of heating at that point. But then I've been doing it, and I've seen a reduction in, condensation, build-up, and a lot better air quality. Would you recommend doing something like that?
I certainly do that, to be fair. I absolutely. Anything to help improve internal air quality. And like you say, it doesn't have to be for long. We're not suggesting that people, you know, open their windows and leave them open for hours, but
sit in the cold, get the blankets.
But yes, 5 or 10 minutes in the morning.
And having plants would also be a great way for air quality, ventilation. They're soaking up the carbon dioxide, letting out oxygen.
Plants I've managed to keep alive inside of orchids. Everything else I managed to kill off, so I'm not sure I'm the best.
They're actually quite difficult to keep alive. I think aloe veras and spider plants are super easy. They're very hardy.
I might try those next.
I'll have to bring one in for you. S&G has one of the most ambitious retrofit programs in the sector. Can you walk us through how we prioritise homes and what sort of improvements we make?
Yes, indeed. We do have an ambitious programme. Over the next 10 years, our target is to retrofit 1,500 homes a year over 10 years. That's a big commitment. That's about $500 million in investment. So we're very proud of that. And we as a business are actually targeting a quality beyond the minimum compliance that other companies are aiming for. So we're proud of that. But what we have to do is make the right decisions on the right properties for the right outcomes. So using our Homes in Place standard, we use that to identify the right properties or streets or communities where the greatest positive outcome can happen. And we have to balance that against the house type. Some are more complex than others. That means they're going to be more costly and complicated. So for us, it's about value for money. We need to balance the value for money with the archetypes, the house types, so that we get the best outcomes. So we use Homes in Place as a guiding light as to where we invest and for what outcomes. It's
like the Bible, the Homes in Place standard.
It's our DNA. Sure, absolutely. It really does inform our thinking, and it's not just loosely applied. It's deeply integrated into our systems, our thinking, and our investment priorities. Yeah.
I love that. You said some homes are more complicated, depending on different archetypes of houses. Which would be more complicated?
Well, some of your period properties, solid wall properties, Edwardian, yes. So they've got solid walls, and that creates complexities. A very large percentage of our stock is more modern, 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s. That means cavity construction, and that's easier and quicker to insulate. I'm sorry, that's when you've, instead of a solid wall, you've got two skins, so you got a brick and a block, and there's a gap in the middle, and that's full of insulation. So we try to prioritise those house types that are less complicated, quicker to retrofit, so that our customers get the best kind of outcomes in the quickest time. So it's a very careful selection process.
I think it's probably also worth talking about planning constraints. So we're very lucky in a lot of areas that we have homes that there aren't planning constraints, and therefore you've got a fairly wide range of measures that you could apply to those homes. When you start bringing in planning regulation as well, it does start to limit the things that you can do. I mean, if we took Dorset, for example, solar panels could be a problem because they're in a conservation area. They can't be on the front elevation. Would they work as well if we put them on the rear elevation? They may not. Also, air source heat pumps.
When you say rear elevation,
sorry, the front or the back. Sorry,
okay.
That's what I mean. Sorry, the front or the back of a property, or
I think a lot of people. I only found this out. I think it was last year. I was slightly embarrassed, but solar panels only work if they're south-facing. Is that correct?
No.
Oh, sorry.
No.
Opposite. Am I the wrong way around?
So they work in any orientation.
Okay.
But they are most efficient when they are south-facing because they will get most exposure to sunlight, but they don't have to be solely south-facing to work. Okay. So it's just one of the things that we specifically endorse it, but we will get in London as well. I mean, London itself is a whole nother.
If we get sun, I'm yet to see it. I think the majority of people in the UK are vitamin D deficient.
The great news is the technology has changed so much in a short space of time, and the efficiency of these panels is much better than it has
Massively,
been.
yeah.
So in fact, if you're east, west, south, and maybe even north, panels still work and still deliver efficiencies. So technology is really helping.
Is the idea in the future to have all of our stock with solar panels?
That would be the aspiration, yes, because it really does drive energy bills down for our customers, and that's a key consideration for the business, and it certainly helps with reducing our carbon emissions. It really does depend house by house and
how much sun you get as well, because
it's a lot of things, because it's not just about how much you generate, but it's how it's used within the home. So if you're a household that is at home all of the time, you aren't necessarily going to see the same level of benefit as somebody who's not at home all the time. So it's very individual to a household, which makes it very difficult for us to say exactly how much somebody's going to save. But it does make a significant impact.
But as we do look to the future, it's not just about solar panels, it's about battery storage. And when you combine those two things together, you have a great opportunity to reduce energy bills for customers.
Why do we need battery storage?
The future of housing is symbiotic with the future of energy and how we use energy, how we harness energy, clean energy. Now, the climate emergency and sustainability is all about moving away from fossil fuels because of the impact that has on the climate. Moving towards renewable energy, which is clean electricity generated from solar panels or wind. That has to go into the grid, and what we have in this country is an infrastructure that needs to be invested in. So at the moment, there's great opportunities to use batteries and solar panels together to buy and sell electricity from the grid at different times of night. Every half hour, there are different pricing mechanisms. So if your house is smart and has technology and PV or solar panels and battery, you can actually, we can organise to buy clean, green electricity in the middle of the night at the cheaper rates, store that electricity into batteries, and then we're getting the best outcome for the customer and the planet through that combination of technology. So batteries and solar panels and housing and energy have to be considered together for the future.
But put a bit of reality into that. This doesn't mean that we're going to be handing checks out to customers. Customers will see the benefits of this in reductions in their bills rather than checks coming through the door in the post. But the benefits to customers with batteries and solar panels will be much more than if they just had the solar panels installed.
Where we're investing is fantastic. Smart technology, solar panels, PV batteries, what it can do for the customer, what it can do for the company through operational efficiencies, proactive asset management, innovation, R&D. It's at the heart of what we're doing at the moment as a company.
But I think the other thing as well is it actually allows the industry to be ambitious. And we're here to provide a service, and we absolutely are. We are here to provide good quality homes for our customers. But that doesn't mean that we can't be ambitious in what we want to achieve for our customers. And certainly the Homes in Place standard, but Retrofit really gives us that opportunity because technology is moving so quickly. Things that we're installing today are absolutely right for installing today, but in a year, 2 years, 5 years' time, there'll be something new that makes what we've done now look outdated. So it's a very fast-paced, very exciting industry to be in and place to be for social housing, I think.
That's amazing. A good, interesting question. What are we investing in now that you think will be obsolete? Because you said in 10 years' time, we might not be using the same technologies, or you're just unsure. It could be change. I think
there's a lot. I mean, technology in sustainability and retrofit has changed so much already. I mean, 5-10 years ago, we weren't talking about putting batteries into homes. And we are now talking about batteries in homes at scale. So I think, like I said before, I don't think we're investing in the wrong thing. What we're doing today is absolutely right for what we are doing today. But I think it's important that we don't rest on our laurels and we kind of keep our finger on the pulse and keep up with changing technology, because there will be more innovation. Heat pumps will get smaller. just one of the things at the minute, as anyone will know who's got one, heat pumps, they're quite big units, and we can't get around that, but they will reduce.
And it's probably worth talking about what we're doing in the heat pump space.
Absolutely.
And this is something we're very proud of and very excited by, because heat pumps, as perhaps we know them today, are large and they necessitate radiators need to be removed, and it's hard for customers to perhaps accept that. But we've been leading research and innovation with heat pump manufacturers over the last couple of years, and we think we've arrived at a significant breakthrough in technology where we're going from low temperature heat pumps to high temperature heat pumps, which means you don't need to remove your radiators, you don't need to remove the pipework. So it's going to be quicker, least intervention for the customer, and hopefully a better performance all round. So S&G are very proud to be leading the way on innovation and R&D, because we think it delivers better outcomes for the customer and for operational efficiency as well.
Could you explain a little bit more about heat pumps, what they are? And also the use of radiators, because a lot of customers use their radiators, especially in the winter when you can't dry clothes outside on a rack. So taking away the radiator would be...
let's clarify that point. We're not taking away radiators.
Yeah.
So what Jim is talking about is the difference between... This is going to get really technical. A low temperature heat pump and a high temperature heat pump. So low temperature heat pumps, the water that's circulating around the system is at a lower temperature, so it runs at about 55 degrees. Because of that, you tend to have very large radiators to get the same amount of heat into that home. Mm-hmm. And by doing so, it can mean that customers lose space within the property. It may be that the walls aren't big enough to accommodate the size of the radiator that you think you're going to need. Whereas the high temperature, as it would suggest, runs at a much higher temperature. So at the minute it's 65. We're pushing industry to get that to be 75. So that's part of that R&D that Jim was talking about. And that means that the radiators that system needs should be very similar to the radiators that you would have on a traditional gas boiler system. So instead of us coming in and taking all the pipework out and ripping the radiators off the wall, it should be a case of coming in and removing the gas boiler and simply connecting up an air source heat pump. So the installation time goes down, but also the intrusion to customers, the length of time we're there, the disruption, the redecoration afterwards. So yeah, as Jim said, it's massively game-changing for industry.
Fantastic. How are we learning from those situations and improving the resident experience?
So I think it's really important to acknowledge that things go wrong. We're human. Nobody turns up to work with the intention of things going wrong, but things do go wrong. Whether it's a leak, a missed appointment, communication hasn't been particularly clear, or we have issues with our contractors. And we recognise when that happens, it can have a massive impact on those individual households and customers. But what matters the most to us is about how we recover that situation. So what do we do in the first instance? And for us, it's all about getting in quickly and supporting those customers. And within my team, we have a fantastic group of resident liaison officers who are there. They're close to customers all the way through the journey, but they really help get through those bumpy periods. And once we've resolved that particular issue, we take a step back and we have a look at what has caused that situation. Do we need to improve the process? Is there something that our contractors should be doing that they aren't doing? And is it something that we need to do internally, or is it something that we need to do with our partners, with our delivery teams? That being said, though, when it goes right, the impact is incredible, and it happens straight away. The beauty of retrofit work is once you have made that change, the impact to that customer and the benefit felt is almost immediate. customers now tell us, their homes are warmer and they're spending less on their energy bills. But more than that, their well-being has improved. They're happier in their homes. We've got customers who have health conditions that have massively benefited because they can now afford to heat their homes, whereas before they perhaps couldn't. And I'm going to take a minute just to direct people to our website, because there are a couple of case studies on there with our customers, Steve and Andrea, who have had this work done. They had air source heat pumps fitted with solar panels, battery storage, insulation upgrades, and new windows and doors. And they talk really nicely about how that has had an impact on their lives, and simple things that a lot of us take for granted. Having an extra bit of money at the end of the month, they can treat their grandchildren. They can treat themselves a bit more. So there's a really human element to what we're doing, and that is absolutely one of the key drivers for the programs that we have.
That was a great response. And I think this is what this podcast is about. It's about being transparent. It's about S&G taking accountability for where they've gone wrong, learning from their mistakes, and wanting to give the customer the best experience possible. And I think it's important. I think some people are hesitant to go with retrofit. They think, well, it's invasion, how much difference it's actually going to make. So you clarifying those points that it does make a big difference at the end of the month, and you are going to have that little bit of money, and you try to mitigate any issues. Sometimes even they're out of your hands if it's contractors coming in and, causing delays. So, I applaud you for your honesty and transparency. I think it's important, and I'm glad that we're here having this conversation.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the things that I do want to get across, is that we do recognise how intrusive this work can be, but the team is absolutely here to work with customers, even on a one-on-one basis for specific needs, to make sure that journey is as comfortable as it can be whilst it's being carried out.
So let's talk about a little bit more of a difficult subject, retrofit versus regeneration. Now, obviously, we have aging homes. Not all homes are purposed or fit for retrofit. So when we talk about regeneration, can you explain what regeneration is, what the process is like, and how you decide on what properties are retrofit and what properties are regeneration?
Yeah, so we touched on earlier our Homes in Place standard. So the Homes in Place standard will guide us to areas where greater investment is needed than can be provided through retrofit. And that could be whole estates, that could be whole streets, it could be a small cluster of properties that are fairly rural to our geography. It's much more complex than retrofit. With retrofit works, we can do the work with customers living in their own home. With regeneration, it becomes much more emotive. It's much more of a difficult conversation to have with our customers. And we find it quite difficult to have as well. But it's done, to build community, to make the areas future-proofed, and to really enhance the lives of the customers that are living there.
That talks to the kind of long-term goal of sustainable communities. And if we're looking about creating new communities, we look at the opportunity of starting with that conversation with our customers, asking them, what is your vision for your community over time? How can we help you realise that vision? How can we bring employment, better housing and schools, creating a vibrant community, a healthy community? So regeneration is massive in its scale and opportunity, and retrofit is just a part of that.
It is a really difficult conversation to have with customers, and it must be incredibly difficult for you guys as well to have to deal with that emotion. I think it's really important that you take the customer into consideration. You said, Jim, that you bring them in and you discuss the whole process.
Yeah, it's a journey. A journey of conversation, engagement. We'll sit with communities, we'll have think tanks, we'll have working groups, we'll basically tease out fears, hopes, aspirations with our customers, and then that starts to shape the thinking about what we need to do for that community over the longer period. It's a journey. It takes time.
So in reality, the customers are part of that journey, and they're a big part in having a say in their local area.
Absolutely.
Fundamental. Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's been also focus recently on funding for energy improvements. The National Infrastructure Commission estimates $5.1 billion is needed for home energy upgrades by 2050. But the Warm Homes Fund and the SHDF together allocate only $1.36 billion. How does S&G bridge that gap? And how do we make the most of the funding that we do receive?
You're right, there is a gap, and it's a significant gap, and it's not enough to address the needs of national housing stock. The government has got a fantastic funding programme, and over the last for 3 years, we've been fortunate enough to secure 2 rounds of funding, about £55 million. And the key thing there is we need to allocate that money wisely and deliver, get the maximum outcomes for the minimum spend and get that balance right. So we have to be very careful in where we allocate that money and when. So we have to be creative, and we've got some great ideas about how we can do that. But it's a big problem, but it's certainly something we have to face into. Just for more information, that the more we do this and the more we can demonstrate the value it brings customers, we hope to be able to demonstrate to government that the impact in the NHS and the welfare state through investing in homes, we can reduce the burden if we invest in homes. And that means no more reactive costs at the back end. And I think the numbers are every year the NHS suffers or incurs 1.4 billion in reactive costs to cold homes, poor homes, and about 18.5 billion in welfare impacts. So if you consider they are reactive costs to poor housing, if the government could look at that and repurpose funding to the front end into the housing stock, you could actually start to have a much bigger impact on the economy. We hope over time that we can demonstrate with other housing associations that the evidence supports that funding should be increased to deliver better outcomes for the government.
And I suppose just talking to that, we are just about to start our first round of research specifically to support that point. So we've done something like 1,800 retrofits in the last 2 years. So we're starting to get a really good sort of base data to be able to do that. So yeah, over the next 12 to 18 months, we're actually starting that research journey to support that exact argument that we want to bring to government.
Are the housing associations and local councils also doing the same research?
So they are. What we would like to do is to, and this is still very much a journey that we need to go on, but link up with others. So if you think about our operating area, there are a number of local authorities and other housing providers that are doing exactly the same kind of, well, not exactly the same, but very similar kind of work that we are doing. And therefore, collectively, we are having a massive impact on individual NHS trusts. So we're starting on our own, but we'll shortly be having conversations with other providers in the area about linking up and then going to the trusts and working out how we bring that together.
Worst comes to worst, we get our signs, we go up to the Parliament,
that's
it, we need more investment, we need more money.
But that's it. I mean, there's a lot of good things that come out of government, and there's a lot of a noise that comes out of government, as we all know. So it's how do we cut through that in a meaningful way that we can demonstrate clearly? And there is a massive opportunity for industry, social housing, whether it's, social housing providers, whether it's manufacturers, whoever it might be, to actually bring the challenge back to government and demonstrate this. Because as much as we talk about we've been incredibly successful with the funding that we have achieved, we recognise the gap. There is more that could be done if we can demonstrate the savings elsewhere.
The housing associations have an important role. We are, in fact, pathfinders for government for policy. We consider the big outcomes over the longest period. And I think the evidence, we need to build that evidence base within the sector to have a meaningful conversation with government.
What's the most heated internal debate S&G has about sustainability? Now I want some good gossip. What's happening on the inside? Get the punching gloves out. In the left corner, we have Kathryn. In the right corner, we have Jim. Ding-a-ding-ding.
I think for me, it's exactly that. It's budgets. Social housing is quite rightly very heavily regulated. So it's competing priorities. It's fire safety, it's compliance, it's meeting net zero targets, it's sustainability. So it's who's getting the funding this year and who gets to do a full programme and who doesn't.
And that's right. It's a positive tension because it's about short-term needs and compliance, but equally planning for the future and making sure that the money we do invest actually delivers longer-term outcomes. So that inevitable tension between the short-term and long-term is that.
Do the departments feel that? Do you feel that with the other departments? When they come in and you're talking to the big guys about funding, do you try and one-up them?
I don't think we try and one-up each other, but there's definitely
that department's doing terrible. Look at their record. It's just despicable.
I think the thing is that we're all looking out for the right things for us in our teams and what we need to deliver. So there's definitely a healthy competition, I think is probably how I'd phrase that one.
But you've touched on a very pertinent point. The tensions within the organisation are real and tangible. And everyone's right. Everyone has their priorities. But sometimes you need to be able to just cut through it and say, what are you aiming for? Customer outcomes. What are you aiming for? Customer outcomes. So in fact, we're talking about the same thing. Yeah. So actually, we don't need to compete. We just need to focus on the outcome, and then we can start to be happy that we're, maybe going at different speeds, but we're actually aligned in our thinking.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Kathryn. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast today. I really appreciate your honesty, your transparency. I've learned some new things, and hopefully our listeners have too. And hopefully we'll have you again on in the future. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of today's episode of Turning the Key at S&G. A huge thank you to Jim and Kathryn for sharing the big picture view, the strategy, the challenges, and the ambition driving S&G's sustainability work. Before we go, last episode, I was left with a question from Princess. What's the one simple thing that every resident can do to make their homes a little bit more environmentally friendly? Such a great question, Princess. Thanks so much. I would say the one thing everyone can do to make it more sustainable, and we actually did this last month in our resident challenge, and it was our carbon reduction challenge. And we challenged our residents to turn the heating down by 1 degree. And I love a warm home. I'm a sucker. It could be 16 to 20 degrees outside and I still feel cold. So a warm home is super important to me. And I thought, damn it, I'm going to hate this challenge. But I have to do it. I'm part of sustainability ambassadors. Can't be telling everyone else to do it and not do it myself. So I did it. And actually I didn't feel a huge difference in temperature. And it makes such a difference. If every UK household turned their thermostat down by just 1 degree, would save the same amount of CO2 as taking 3 million cars off the road. That's huge. And I think next month, I'm even going to slowly reduce it down by 1 more degree. So now I'm on 18. Who knows? I might get it to 17. I will keep you guys updated. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you to all our guests today. As mentioned, you can find the links to all topics we've spoken about below. Don't forget, you can get involved, share your ideas, and hear about sustainability opportunities through Engage. And colleagues can join or contribute to the Green Group too. Until next time, take care, and thanks for turning the key with us.